Today, I'm with Travis. Travis is the owner of Funky Frame Friends. Travis, can you tell us your story on how did you ended up coming to craft show like this?
Yeah, so I've been an illustrator and a drawer my whole life, and I do actually an illustrator for a living. But I wanted to come up with a way that I could kind of do my own personal art and make some extra money with it. And then I bought a 3D printer because I thought it'd be fun to make stuff. And then I was trying to figure out a way to combine the art that I do with a 3D printer stuff to make to justify the cost of the 3D printer basically. So I kind of came up with the design of these frames that kind of frame the artwork in a really specific way. So it's custom designed frames, with my unique artwork. And then I just decided I would try and sell them and see what the response would be. So been doing it for about a year. I've been doing several markets. This particular market today, I actually live right across the street from here. And so I came here just last time just to see what was going on and ended up talking to a lady and got, the information. And that's kind of why I'm here today, I guess. But
It's perfect. And you do this as a living as well, you say?
I'm an illustrator as a living. I don't do this, not
Okay.
Funky Frame Friends for a living, but I draw for a living. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And when you come to market, is there anything specific you do to your booth to make it look attractive so people can come to you?
Um, I don't do anything really specific to my booth. I just try to display things so that they look nice so you can see everything. I have a lot of different things, and so sometimes it's hard to fit it all on a table, so you can see it well, but there's nothing specific I do that like really stands out. I just sort of hope that my artwork speaks for itself, I guess.
And how often do you go to market throughout the month?
Um, this is the first one I've done this year, actually. Last year I did, I don't know, maybe 10 or so throughout the year. So really less than one a month. It just kind of depends on a lot of different things. So yeah, I do maybe 10 a year-ish.
And what advice would you give to a vendor that is watching this that want to come to a market?
That's tricky because I still feel like I'm learning, kind of figuring out everything. It's tough. I will say that the first advice I'll say is it's tough, to really make a lot of money just because there's usually a fee that you have to pay for your booth. And so, it can be tricky to make the money back. So don't expect to make a lot of money. I guess that's the first bit of advice I will offer. Second thing I'll say is just kind of come up with the best way to pack things so that it's, convenient to transport because you don't want to have to do a ton of work, to set up your booth. Otherwise it just doesn't become worth it. So you just want to kind of learn to pack things economically. And, I don't know if that makes any sense, but just, the transport and setup needs to be easy or else you get tired quickly and it's not worth it. If that makes any sense.
Makes sense. How much inventory do you usually bring?
I mean, I usually have with the prints, these prints like this, I think they're 6x8 prints. I do like usually 5 or 6 of each image. And then I have some note cards. I have like 10 of those that I bring. And then I have 7 or 8 different magnets that I bring. So, I think I bring more inventory than probably I need to because I don't usually sell that much. But I don't know if that answered your question
It
exactly.
does. And what's the future for the business? What's the goal?
That's a really good question. One goal that I have is I do have a website and I would really love to sell more on the website because for me, being in a wheelchair and stuff, the setup of a booth can be a lot of work. And so, I'm trying to get to where my website is generating the income rather than the booths because it's just a little bit easier. So that's my ultimate goal. So www.funkyframefriends.com is my website. And that's kind of my ultimate goal, I guess, is to draw attention to my website by doing this so that I can make more sales there. Yeah. And then it's just kind of a hobby of mine, just have fun. So that's the main goal of it.
And you have a Facebook, Instagram, or something
I
like
do have Instagram. My Instagram is at Travis Eberhard, and it's Travis, and then EB as in boy, ERHARD as in dog. That's my Instagram. And then just the website, funkyfriendfriends.com.
that? All right. Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for chatting with us and good luck today, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Today, I'm with Heather with a ribbon in my hair.
Hello.
Heather, can you tell us your story on how did you ended up coming to craft show like this?
So I started my business when I was 12 years old, and my first craft show was at my dad's work in like the parking lot area. And then from there, it kind of just progressed. I took a couple years off to have a bunch of kids. And then 3 or 4 years ago, I started back up as a vendor at craft fairs. And, I love the little craft fairs. Like I do a couple big events a year, but these smaller craft fairs are really where it's at, where you get to meet the best people and have the most fun as a vendor with other vendors.
That's excellent. And what do you make?
I make hair bows, and I make non-traditional hair bows. A lot of people are like, oh, you use like faux leather. I do occasionally use faux leather, but I mostly use ribbon, and I cut it by hand, measure it by hand. I don't use templates. I don't use any sort of like, trying to think of the right word, but I can't think of it. But I make very unique hair bows. I have steampunk hair bows, cottage core hair bows, zodiac sign hair bows. I just released a collection of hair bows based on the I'm trying to remember what her name is, the Queen of Hearts, Alice in Wonderland. And then I released a collection of hair bows with strawberries on them. And so I make just things that are kind of unusual that no one sees at every single event. So.
And how do you come with this idea? I mean, when you are gonna make a different hair bow, how do you come with the idea?
I look online, I go to Pinterest and I see different things, or I buy a lot of the centers for my hair bows from other vendors, like 3D printed animals is really popular. I do dragons and axolotls and bugs and spiders. And so I'll get those 3D printed ones, and then I'll make a hair bow based on the colors of the 3D printed item, or color schemes, like my fairy core item bows. I have like mermaid theme ones. I've got forest fairy ones. I've got pumpkin fairy themed ones. So it just depends on kind of my mood and what I'm going for and the crowd I'm going towards.
I know you say you start the business when you're 12. Mm-hmm. Obviously, that's a teenager kid stuff.
Yeah.
When did it become a real business? When did you feel like, okay, I need to pick it up?
Well, when I was 12, I was doing a lot of vendor events and selling to a lot of local people. And so it wasn't until like 7 or 8 years ago I got into using ribbon, because before ribbon I was just doing fabric hair bows, and they were harder and a lot more expensive to make. And so then when I started with the ribbon is where it took off a lot, and that's where I really found a love for making hair bows. It's very relaxing. In my prime time, before I had my last 2 kids, I was making about 200 hair bows a week. And so I have quite a large collection of hair bows. What you see here is very minimal compared to the thousands I have at home. And so it's really just a passion of mine. It relaxes me. It gives out creativity, and I don't know, it's just something fun to do with my hands. So.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I see when I come to market is you will see a vendor that come once or 2 times, mm-hmm. and after that they disappear. Why do you think it's so hard for a vendor to stay at it? Or what is the hardest part of coming to craft show that a lot of vendors struggle with, that they stop doing it?
I think the biggest reason vendors don't come back is one, commuting to the event. If it's a event that's far away, there was one event I did last year that was 45 minutes to an hour away, depending on traffic. And I did that once a month for 6 months straight. And then at the end, I was like, the profit versus the traveling wasn't worth it to me. And I think that's your biggest thing you're going to have issues with is profit versus spending time and money for travel and expenses. Is the booth really expensive for a small venue? Also, like work, I usually work Saturdays. And so I have to take off work. So then you have to take into account, is the event going to make more money than my 8-hour shift at work? And so I think that also plays a part into it. And location, I think, is the biggest thing. It's just where is it located?
And how do you usually find your event?
I find them through other vendors. Usually Facebook is the biggest place. I also have lots of friends who are vendors, so I'll contact them and say, hey, which events are good for you? Which events do you thrive at? Which events do you recommend? I've met wonderful, amazing people at events, and so I like to go for the social aspect of it. If I don't make a profit, I'm okay with that because I've met a lot of nice people.
That's my wife.
Yeah. Yeah, I bought some stuff from you today already, so... And the environment also. I've been to some events where the environment was not good. And you just went away like, I'm not going to do that one again. So I just love doing vendor events. And I didn't do them for a couple months because I was taking care of my family and my kids had some needs going on. And so I'm just getting back into the swing of it. And I'm only doing like one event a month. But I hope to increase that in the future to 2 or 3 events a month. So,
and you talk about how you have a lot of bows at home.
mm-hmm.
How do you decide which kind of bow to bring to a market and how many to bring to a market?
So I usually bring top sellers to markets. That's going to be anything princess themed or a new collection. My top sellers are little bows. So I bring a lot of little bows with me and then I'll put bigger bows out, but those usually don't sell. It also depends on the type of market. My best seller bows do well at nerdy conventions and Renaissance fairs. And so at the smaller markets like today's event, I'll probably sell more of the smaller bows versus the bigger and larger bows because of the price point on them. When you go to larger events, you're expected to spend more. When you go to those events, so people are willing to spend more. So they're willing to buy bigger quantity of items or larger items and spend more money versus coming to a small market where they're only want to spend a couple dollars with each vendor. So I make sure I have price points that fit the vendor event. And sometimes I bring too many bows, and one time I didn't bring enough bows. So it just depends on what the market is and who I'm marketing to. If I'm marketing towards mothers or if I'm marketing towards children or that type of thing.
And you say, you've been doing this for a while now since you were a kid.
Yeah.
What is the next step for your business? What is the next goal?
My next goal is to get my website up. I have a website, but it's not the best. And I'm currently revamping it because it had a lot of old product on it. So my next step is to get my business up on my website. And so then I'll put more of my specialty bows on my website. And then, so when I'm at vendor events, people can go and look up my steampunk and fairy core and all of those bows that are on my website. And then they can just see the little bows I have. Because I don't take inventory or stock of the little bows. I just have inventory and stock of the big bows. Because the little bows, I've got a bucket at home that has 400 tiny bows in it. And so it's hard to take a picture of every single hair bow. So I only take pictures of the big ones and post them on social media. So that's my next step, is getting my website up and running and working and getting it to actually produce money. So
in the meantime, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. I do post pictures, and then you can also message me on Instagram or Facebook. I also have an email address. You can email me to do orders, but the best way is through Instagram or Facebook.
What's your Instagram name?
My Instagram is at a ribbon in my hair.
All right. Thank you for chatting and
You're
good luck today.
welcome. Thank you. You as well.